Hello, beautiful. Welcome to another Thursday Talk and the Organizing Mindset podcast with me, Suzanna Kaye. Today we're talking about if the early bird gets the worm, what about the night owl? Let's chat about night owl productivity and some of the myths that go along with it, and how you, as a night owl or any night owls that you know, can be more productive and feel happier about what you're getting done. All right, you ready for this? As you hop on, let me know who you are and where you're joining me from. I see Sue is here. Welcome, Sue is here on live on YouTube with me. And Mary, welcome. Hi, Sheila. We've got Alice is here, and CJ. She says we've got another hot day coming up in Northern California. Oh yeah, here too in Orlando. It's been hot, hot, hot. Hi, Lavette. Good to see you. And Lori from sunny, cool Cleveland. That sounds nice right now. Hey, Wendy from Oregon, and love your life, Mary Beth. Welcome. BT is here, and Sharon. Awesome. So glad to have all of you here. Okay. Well, like I mentioned, pardon if you can hear the garbage truck. That's home life, right? Like I mentioned, we are talking about if the early bird gets the worm, what about the night owl? How can night owls be productive? And what are some myths around the night owls, right? And if you are listening on the Organizing Mindset podcast, remember that that is available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and so many other podcast places. Then I'm glad that you're here as well. Drop in the comments of the podcast or rate and review and let me know what you think. All right, and Path members at noon today, so in about an hour, we will do our Zoom check-in and our deep dive into this night owl and early bird productivity topic. So tell me, as we get started, are you a night owl or are you a morning bird? Who am I talking to? What is your flavor of productivity? I know for me, I'm an early bird. I can function at night, and sometimes when I've got when I'm not feeling so well, then I become a night owl, and I'm married to a night owl. So I struggle as an early bird sometimes when my husband is such a night owl. So let me know what you are in the chat. So night owls, there are so many things we hear about night owls and the workplace. In traditional workplaces, the 9-to-5 jobs or very structured jobs that need you to be awake and active in the mornings, then night owls often get a bad rap. They are seen as not being as productive and as committed, and they can definitely rub the early birds the wrong way. We don't get it all the time. So there have been a lot of myths and mistakes about night owls and night owl productivity, mostly just because that 9-to-5 structure that is not very forgiving for people whose energy levels are different. And night owls, basically, your energy cycle peaks about the time, or starts to rise about the time that the normal traditional office hours end. So I know with my husband, he tends to work later oftentimes just because he just got focused and started and really involved in a project, and then the workday is over. So he feels like he's gotten nothing done, and he tends to work a little bit later at work just because he's finally focused and finally feeling good about his productivity. Now, I do want to say though, if you are a night owl, that does not mean that you are not as productive as early birds. You just do it at a different time. Your energy at midnight, 2 a.m. is usually at its peak. You're really rocking around those times. Later in the evening, that is when your energy cycle and your focus cycle, all of that productivity really climbs and peaks. So while us early birds have already called it a day and we're now sitting on the couch watching Big Bang Theory and snacking on popcorn, this is when you are actually most productive. But since it's outside of business hours, you don't really get credit for it too much, right? So let's talk about some ways that you can be more productive while honoring your night owlness as much as possible, and a couple mindset shifts that we can have along the way. So I asked you in the comments, tell me if you are a night owl or an early bird. And really quickly, hi, Nancy and Terry and Suzanne and Lori. Welcome. So Sue is both. Yeah, there are people who don't really have that peak energy cycle on either end and are kind of like an omni owl, an omni bird. Mary Beth is mostly early. Lavette is a night owl. CG says, serious night owl here. Get to bed between midnight and 1, up at 6 to 6:30 a.m. Oof, that is not much sleep, CJ, you poor thing. Sharon, morning person, but not early. Mary was a night owl, and now that she's retired, she's an early bird. It's funny. In our lives, we can actually shift depending on what's going on in our lives. Yeah. Lori, night owl, but starting to rise much earlier than in the past and starting to get things done mid-morning. Yay. Deborah's a night owl. Nancy says, I think I'm sort of both. I can stay up late working, but like working early too. Always interested in a midday nap if that happens to happen. I'm with you on that one. Cheyenne, hi Cheyenne, beautiful flowers in your picture. She says, definitely an early bird. And hey, Dee Dee, she says, I do both, learning to be an early bird. So we've got a good mix here today. Ooh, I love that. All right. Well, if you are, whether you're an early bird or a night owl, some of these are going to really apply to you. It's just night owls tend to struggle with some of these more often. And these are things that night owls might need to be more aware of, but early birds, check these out as well. So in order to be more productive, have a start time for your day. Now, don't worry, night owls. That does not mean your start time needs to be 7 or 8 a.m. or anything even that starts with AM or that ends with AM, right? Just having a time when you've decided to start your day and start being productive in whatever way that productivity is, whether it's going out to brunch with the girls, going to work, doing some paper organizing at home. Just pick that start time. Try to make it as consistent of a start time as you can each day so that each day you are starting around the same time. But by having a start time to your day, when you are sluggish and not moving quickly and your brain's not completely engaged yet, it's very easy to keep pushing off that start time. And it gets later and later and later. And, as humans, we tend to beat ourselves up about it too. So then you're starting to feel worse and worse and worse about yourself, but you're still not getting up to do things. So by having a strict start time, that will give your brain permission before that to ease into your day without the guilt. But also it will keep you from pushing past where you really want to get started. So creating that start time and sticking to it. If you're tough about sticking to these things, set a phone call, set an appointment with somebody, have something externally where you have to be up. On days that I know I'm going to struggle more, sometimes I will set the early vet appointment to get their shots or set a phone call meeting with somebody. But having that start time is going to get you up and moving. And once you're up and moving, it's so much easier, right? It's just getting moving. But you can still allow yourself to ease into that day. Your start time does not have to be early. It just has to be set. Quickly in the comments on Facebook, she says, night owl, but if I could roll out of bed extra early and go for a good walk, then I can be uber productive until lunchtime. Then my body wants a nap. I know. Afternoon naps are nice. I miss those. Okay. So if you are an early bird, having a start time to your day is great too. If you are one of those night owls, some night owls actually do very well in the morning if it's extra early in the morning, because I think there must just still be that overlap in the nighttime. And if it's still dark outside, a lot of times that will help a night owl to function earlier in the day because your brain is seeing the dark and thinking, oh, okay, the world is still slow and easy, and I am still in my nighttime space. So having a start time, if you really need to be up early, try a start time that's super early as a night owl sometimes. Just make sure that you get enough sleep. So don't go to bed at 2 a.m. and wake up at 5 a.m. because that's going to wear on you and your brain cannot work optimally when you're not getting enough sleep. But yeah, some night owls can actually do really well very early in the morning. It's just you might not know that because you generally don't think that you're good in the morning, so you don't get up early. And let's see, in the chat, Lori says, Peg and I often have our accountability sessions starting at 9 or 10 a.m. That is really good. That's great. I love that. and get an accountability partner who's also a night owl to help each other. Connie says, good morning. She says she's an early bird, but sometimes she gets up in the night owl time and go. I love it. And hey, Joe, good to see ya. Nice to have you here. Okay, so having a start time for your day, early birds, a start time for your day is also important. Is not going to be as much of a struggle for you, but having that start time, a lot of times us early birds, if there is not something where that's a specific start time, we might get distracted with things that we don't necessarily, that are not necessarily as productive, right? So if I, as an early bird, don't have a start time for my day, then I will unload the dishwasher, do some laundry, pick up around the house, find a task around the house or a craft that I see. I'm like, oh, I'll work on that really quick, not realizing that it's getting later and later. And all of a sudden it's 11 a.m. and my energy is draining and I have not started on productive work yet. So having a start time is important. All right. So night owls, especially early birds, this will still help you. But night owls especially create a morning routine. Now, what I mean by this is doing the same things every day. And the reason why this is helpful is if our brain is used to doing the same things every single day, and then right before our start time, then our brain gets trained that after this series of things happens, it focuses. So if we can attach our focused productive time to some not necessarily productive tasks, but something that we do all the time right beforehand, then that helps our brain get into focus time quickly. Because just like, I know, for an example, my dogs, they can hear the mail truck coming. So as soon as they hear the mail truck coming, they start to bark, which is just great. The reason that is, they don't care about the truck itself. They know that the mailman is going to walk up to the door to put the mail in the mailbox that's near our door. So they want to bark at the mailman, but they've gotten used to when they hear that sound, they know the mailman is coming. And their brains now associate the mailman with the sound of the mail truck. Even though the truck never comes up to the house, they don't necessarily even see the truck sometimes. But their brain says truck equals mailman is next, equals bark. And it's the same thing for us humans. So if you have a nice lazy morning routine, that's absolutely fine. Maybe, you get up and you make your coffee, you sip your coffee, scroll through Facebook, hop by the Facebook organizing group, the organizing challenges group, see what's new in there. And then maybe you walk the dog, eat some breakfast, and then get dressed and put on your shoes. And then you start productive work. Well, your brain throughout this, if you're doing this every day, your brain is getting more and more focused and it knows, okay, getting dressed, we're about to focus shoes. Okay, focus time. And it'll flip into focus so much faster if you have that same routine every day. Now, if you don't have the same routine every day, then your brain can talk you out of focusing. It's going to have a lot harder time getting into that focus. And it works the same for early birds. So early birds, you might need a nighttime routine. If you have to do things at nighttime often, then you might need a nighttime routine in order to help your brain get into whatever it is you need to do at nighttime. But that muscle memory in your brain encourages you to focus on work a lot faster. So, really quickly, Cindy says, I was just listening to a presentation on AI and stopped it. She says, and then I realized I have so much stuff to do. Right? Yeah, it's very easy to fall into the trap if you don't have that start time and those habits of this is the routine and then I start. It's so easy to get distracted. Although it sounds interesting. On Facebook says, I'm an early tired, but I tend to, I think that she says means bird, but I tend to wake up in the middle of the night for a few hours, maybe my age. Yeah, age will definitely do that too. I can attest to that. All right, so my early birds especially, are my night owls especially, early birds, you generally don't have as much of a problem waking up and planning your day in the mornings. It's fine if you enjoy planning it the day before, but in the morning, you still have that productive energy. Your brain is still wired to think clearly and be more focused in the morning. So when you plan your day, it is fine if you do it in the morning. But my night owls, if you can plan the next day before you finish your work that day, then it is going to be so much easier for you to do productive work when you get started, because your brain is not always firing on the highest cylinders. It's not always the most focused and making the best decisions earlier in your day. But if you've planned the day before, when your brain was at its optimal level, when you were seeing the big picture and you were motivated to get so many things done, if you've written out, these are the things I'm going to do, I can do them in this order, for the next day, then you are going to be so much more successful and productive, and you're going to work on the right things. When our brain is at a lower energy, we tend to not make the best choices about what to work on when it comes to productivity, to meeting our goals, getting things done that are the higher priority things. So if you're allowing yourself to make those decisions when your brain is not in that focused time and not truly making the best decisions, like this is like if I tried to plan my day at midnight, it would not work. Then you're going to choose things that are easier, that you want to do more, instead of the things that need to get done. So planning your day as a night owl the day before means that you are going to make better choices, and it's going to be easier to get started because you don't even have to think about what to do, right? You just hop in and you've got your list of, okay, this is what I'm doing today, and you can just dive right in. So planning your day the day before is really, really helpful. On Facebook, I love the term early tired. Yeah, I think that's so funny. No problem, Cindy. Yeah, when you hit enter and it does another line, and that's not a problem. I got it figured out. We're good. Peggy says, I discovered your Spotify podcast. Now I have something to listen to while doing the dishes. Yay. Yes. Yeah. Check out on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. The Organizing Mindset podcast is now on there, and you can listen as part of your morning routine or your nighttime routine. It's a great way to get a good early boost of productivity and mindset early in the day, if that's part of your morning routine, or while you're doing things like walking the dog, dishes, driving. I'm glad that you found that. Yay. All right, on Facebook, someone says, yes, LOL, early bird, but my body and mind are up at 6 a.m. Yep. I hear you. And then finally, night owls. You do not hear this often enough, and I want you to truly hear this. Working at 2 a.m. is still working. You are just as productive, if not more so, than the early birds. You get things done. You just get things done at a different time of day. So you are absolutely amazing when you are in your productive peak. If you can schedule things, your heavy brain work, schedule work if possible for the hours that you have your highest energy, maybe 10 p.m., maybe 2 a.m., whatever it is for you, then you can do amazing things, right? So I want you to remember that even if it is in the middle of the night, working and doing stuff is still working and doing stuff. A lot of times we think that we are killing time, or it's a hobby, or we're just doing something, we're dabbling, and we don't give ourselves the credit for the work that we're actually doing at those times. So working at 2 a.m. is still working. You are still productive. And along with that, because working at 2 a.m. is still working, don't let yourself get sidetracked and go off on some tangent and go into perfectionism too much, or hyper focus, and lose sight of what productive things you want to do, what you want to complete. So if you're working at 2 a.m., just because it's 2 a.m. does not mean you necessarily want to meander through it, go way too into perfectionism, dabble at this, that, and the other, not work at higher priorities. If you're dedicating time at night to working, make sure that you treat it like you're working. All right. If you're not, then that's fine. If that is your playtime, then that's fine. But feel free. Set that time. If you are organizing your papers and you're a night owl, organize your papers at 2 a.m. That is absolutely fine. Set up your paper path overnight. Stay up until 3 a.m., whatever, 4 a.m., setting up your paper path. That is still working. So giving you credit right now. So tell me really quickly in the comments, what small step are you taking today to make a difference in your future? whether you're a night owl or a morning person, are you making a change? Are you going to make a change today? What are your thoughts? And just remember, be okay with pushing outside of your comfort zone, because that is where we grow and that's where we succeed. If it's hard and if it's scary, then that means you're learning something new, you're growing in a new way, and that's what you need to be doing. So do not be afraid of hard. Do not be afraid of scary. You got this. All right. What are your next steps? Well, whether you're an early bird or a night owl, we now have in the path a solution for you. You can get the support you need to stay productive and motivated by becoming a Pathfinder. Join the Path membership at SuzannaKaye.com. Click on the store. We have group hikes this month. We actually have tonight, and next week we have evening group hikes. There's a 1-hour evening group hike tonight, August 17th, and next week on the 24th. So my night owls, I hope to see some of you there for that. And remember, my Pathfinders, if you're currently a member, I see a bunch of you here right now in the comments. If you're currently a member, I will see you in about 40 minutes for our deep dive in Zoom. And I'm about to do a recap, but I wanted to hop over to the chat really quickly. Lori says, I plan my day the day before, but if I check my text or email messages, it takes me a long time before I start my pre-planned to-do list. Yes, and I would recommend actually, and we'll talk about this more during the Path deep dive, the Path member deep dive at noon. But I would recommend do not start your day by checking text or email. Give yourself an hour of productive work before you even open that email and those texts, because that can really derail everything. Yeah. Robin says, I'd never thought about that, but I'm definitely not alert in the morning. Good logic to plan the night before. Yay. Yeah, good. Sue says, since I retired, I've found that working early in the morning or late at night, there are fewer distractions and commitments than during the middle of the day. Absolutely. This is why night owls get a lot of stuff done too, because everybody else is asleep or assuming that they're asleep, so nobody bothers them. So night owls actually, they're lucky in the fact that they have that high energy during times when most people are not going to bother them. Peg says, I use my iPhone calendar to make appointments for things I need to get done, not just real appointments. So things like wrap gifts, read book club book, call Ellen, return library books, mail birthday cards. I love it. Yes, you can absolutely do that. I do that for some of the major things so I don't forget. Great job. All right, so let's do a quick recap. All right, my night owls, ready? And keep telling me what small steps you're going to do. Okay, so whether you're a night owl or a morning person, an early bird, these will work for you, but especially night owls, this is going to help you pass the struggle. So my night owls, have a start time for your day so you get started at a reasonable time and you don't keep pushing that start time back when you're groggy. Create a morning routine, and this does not have to be something where it's very regimented and a lot of stuff that you're doing and high energy. A simple routine to ease into your day that you can do the same way every day. That will help your brain get into productive mode once that last step of the routine is done. And it's going to be so much easier for you to be productive if you've got a routine that happens beforehand that eases you into it. Plan your day the day before. Your brain is groggy and not at its highest working self early in the mornings or even in the mornings. So while you are wrapping up the day before, when your brain is still active and making the best choices and seeing the whole picture, plan out what you need to do the next day. You can even plan it out as far as, I'm going to do this first, then this, then this. That way, the next day, you will be making good choices instead of easy choices. Because when we're groggy, we tend to pick the easy stuff, not the stuff that we really need to be doing. And then remember, night owls, working at 2 a.m. is still working. You are still getting so much done. You're absolutely productive. Sometimes you're more productive than us early birds. You just don't get credit for it. But if you are committing to work during those evening hours, make sure that you treat it like work. So don't let yourself go down the rabbit holes just because it's 2 a.m. and your brain is not thinking about it as work. If you're going to commit it to work, then make it work, right? But working at 2 a.m. is still working. Give yourself the credit you deserve because you are doing amazing, amazing things. It just happens to be at a different time. So You're absolutely valuable in what you're doing. All right, I'll tell you what's coming up in just a second. I wanted to say, see in the chat. Oh, Joanna says, hi, everyone. Peg, I do the same thing with my iPhone calendar. Yeah, entering tasks to do on your calendar is a fantastic way to do it. And you can even have multiple calendars on one, so you can hide tasks and show tasks as you need to. Oh, hey, lady, I'm glad that you're here. Even if it's late, that's okay. Cindy says she is going to start looking at her schedule for the next day. Yes. Robin says, I'm curious how people use the calendar to do tasks. Oh, we can talk about that in the Path deep dive. There are some great ways to do that. Absolutely. Lori says, today I'm finding a birthday card to mail to my daughter-in-law who will get gas and drop off 2 bags of, she'll get gas and drop off 2 bags of clothes to donate to Value World. Yay, wonderful. Those are great steps for today. Cindy says, I don't like having to set an alarm unless I have to work for a trip. Yeah, and you don't have to set an alarm to have a morning routine either. And you don't have to set an alarm to have a start time. If you don't have to get up for work, set your start time for a time that you know that you're going to be up and awake and have time to do that morning routine. So just because you have a start time does not mean that time has to end in AM. Peg says, my sister had trouble sleeping. Her doctor told her to get up the same time every day, weekdays and weekends. It does help. It really does. Your body gets used to it that way. CJ says, I have to keep my late night activities rather mundane, do the dishes, fold the laundry, so I don't get my mind running on challenging subjects. Yes, if you do have to be up and active early the next day for work, then it is hard to do some of the more challenging things at nighttime before you lay yourself down to sleep. As long as you give yourself about 30 minutes to an hour of no tech decompression time before bed, it does help. We'll talk about that. There's a bunch of Path members on here, so we'll talk about that during the Path deep dive today too. Just remind me. Lori says, my morning routine is to wash and dress, make the bed, get coffee, eat breakfast, do the dishes, then begin the to-do list. Yes, wonderful. Your brain knows dishes, then to-do list. Love it. Oh, cool. On Facebook, I joined a meetup virtual group that has a 1-hour pre-day productivity session, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 7 a.m. We check in via chat and list our goals for the 45 minutes, then have a second check-in at 7:50 to report progress. Calm, quiet music is played. Personal videos do not play. Not as fun as your group hikes. Aw, that's sweet. That's really cool. That's a great idea. I love that. That's a really fun one. Oh, you're welcome, Cindy. Sharon says, I always change my bedding on Thursdays, and I found out the best time to do it is listening to Suzanna's Thursday Talks. Yay, thanks. Oh, that's wonderful. I love that. What a great way to build in a habit. And yeah, I love it. You guys are so productive while you watch me and listen to me on the podcast. That makes me happy. All right, coming up, reminder, my Path members, we're doing our group hike tonight, 8 to 9 p.m. And we've got one next week, 8 to 9 p.m. that Thursday, as well as our normal hikes on the 19th and such. So we will be getting together. We're going to be getting some work done. I'll have our fun music. We'll be able to see each other and enjoy that. And if you're listening to the podcast, make sure to rate and review the podcast for me, whether you're on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, wherever you're listening to this podcast at. Those ratings and reviews, I read every one, and they make a huge difference in me spreading the word about my podcast. And share it with people, please, please. Also, if you're on YouTube or on Facebook, like, share, subscribe to this show on YouTube. If you subscribe to the show, then I can send you any new announcements about other videos that I happen to do and new upcoming things. Sometimes I can share some special stuff just with my subscribers. So make sure if you've not subscribed on YouTube, head over, hit subscribe so you can get on the in and get those special drops just for my subscribers. And if you want to know what's coming up, check out the full calendar. It's at SuzannaKaye.com. If you want to become a Path member and join us even today, you can join us in 30 minutes for our deep dive on Zoom. And we're going to talk more about early bird and night owl productivity and all the stuff that we chatted about just a minute ago. So remember, it is okay to go slow. One small step at a time, you will absolutely reach your goals. You've got this. You're doing great things, beautiful. Keep taking those steps, and I love you so much. See you very soon, and I'll talk to you later. Bye now.